now in year number 4. It's a Yank on the Footy with Craig Wessels. Let's all sit back and enjoy a chat about the greatest game on the face of the earth. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Hello, I'm Craig Wessels, and I'm the host of the Australian Rules Football podcast, A Yank on the Footy. I'm coming to you from Sandusky, Ohio. I've been a Browns fan since childhood, so I've experienced things like the great Leroy Kelly's career, Mike Phipps, Brian Sipe, Red Right 88, the drive, the fumble, and the move. I'll be a Browns fan till my dying day. I saw my first NFL game in 1970, and that was San Diego and Kansas City, but while I was a Browns fan, I was a John Hadl fan overnight. Been a John Hadl fan my entire life. Sorry to see that he passed away not that long ago. Now, while I love the NFL and I love college football, Major League Baseball has always been my first love. But I've become rather disenchanted with the game and the rule changes and the tweaks that have been made, especially under Rob Manfred over the last 6 or 7 years. And fortunately, I found an outlet. I became frustrated, and many of you have, with things like the pitch clock and the scandal with the Astros, where those players were not punished more severely for what it was that they had done. I'm still amazed that they're able to play in the league rather than having been banned like the players during the White Sox scandal in the World Series in the first part of the last century. The lack of a salary cap in the game, the fact that they're getting rid of the shift this year and rewarding players like Joey Gallo who cannot hit the baseball to the opposite field. These are all things that led to me becoming frustrated with baseball, and I was looking for an outlet, and I found it. In 2016, I'm a school teacher by trade. I started watching games in the Australian Football League after returning home on Thursday, Friday nights from the soccer and football games that I announced at the school where I teach. I started becoming very intrigued and fascinated by the game, but I fell head over heels in love with the game in 2017. Now, while I still occupy my Saturdays during the football season watching the Buckeyes and the Naval Academy and another game here or there, and of course my Sundays and the occasional Monday night or Sunday evening or Thursday game with the Browns, the dynamic game of Australian football has become the focus of my sport viewing between the months of March and September. In fact, I've not watched baseball now in almost 3 years. Do I miss baseball? I absolutely do. But I also miss what baseball was, and I know that it's not what it was before. And that's really frustrating for somebody who loved that game probably more than anything else. And in fact, had these changes to the game not been made, I might not even be doing this podcast. But I'm so glad that I've found this game. And, I wanted to take a few moments and invite you to talk about the Australian Football League, to talk about the game of Australian football. And it is a game that brings a whole different dimension to what we look at as football. And if you've never seen the game before, I strongly encourage you to give it a look. And over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be releasing a series of episodes of the podcast about the relationship between the NFL, the AFL, talking with both Americans and Australians about what makes the NFL great, and it is, and what also makes the AFL great, a unique league that in its own right is complete with some of the types of skills that you see in the NFL. And during these episodes, I will be talking with a number of different people about, as I mentioned, why they love the NFL, looking at it from Australia, and why Americans love the Australian Football League. And some of you may or may not know, we have over 50 teams in the United States playing Australian football in the US AFL. And I strongly encourage you to check out that game as well. If you happen to be somebody who maybe played football in high school or college and you're in a major metropolitan area throughout the United States, there's a good possibility you have a US AFL club in your community. And they are always looking for great athletes, or even people that maybe aren't great athletes but want to get out and have some fun and play a very, very enjoyable game. And I will put a link to the USAFL's website in the show notes. Now, fortunately for us, while the AFL is not a replacement for the NFL, it is something that is an awesome supplement for those of you who are NFL and college football fans, because that season picks up late August, early September, ends in mid-February now with the Super Bowl. I think I'm allowed to say Super Bowl in the podcast. I'm not using it in advertising. Hopefully they won't sue me. But the AFL season begins in mid-March and runs through the end of September is when the finals happen, and when the grand final occurs is usually at the end of September. So it is a great component to fill the summer months if you're still looking for more football action. So I encourage you to check it out. Fortunately for us, we do have opportunities to watch the game here. Typically, FS1 and FS2 on your satellite or your streaming service or your cable is going to carry 4 or 5 games each week, and the rest of the games are typically carried on the Fox Soccer Plus add-on that some of you may have if you happen to be a soccer fan. Now, of course, when and if you fall in love with a club, you can also get an international membership for that club, where you can get what's known as the Watch AFL app with that, which is a streaming service which allows you to watch any of the games live or on demand, and watch all of the programming that Fox Footy provides as well. And again, if you're an NFL fan, you're somebody who loves speed, athleticism, spectacular catches, bone-crunching tackles, nonstop excitement. And when I mean nonstop, it is pretty much nonstop. There's not the play lasts for 6 seconds, and then we huddle up for 40 seconds, another play for 6 seconds. There are instances where there's a jump ball, if you will, throughout the course of an AFL game. But other than that, the action pretty much goes on and on and on, and it doesn't stop. Even for minor injuries, the game continues, and that player has to be helped off the ground before their replacement can come on the ground. So it is a wonderful three-dimensional game, and I do hope you'll give a listen to these episodes, and maybe they will pique your interest in wanting to check out this greatest game. Now, I am going to be putting links to several video clips in the show notes for this episode. Couple things on the rules for the game, a couple video clips on some great highlights of the game of the past as well. And maybe these will be a couple little rabbit holes that you go down and check out this game. Because again, if you're looking for something to occupy your football cravings during the summer months, you cannot do better than the Australian Football League. So I do hope you'll consider checking these out, because I really think if you give this game a fair shake, if you're looking for something, I think you will absolutely fall in love with it. I have, and it's not to say that I was an easy convert to the game, but it is, I can't get enough of it. I absolutely cannot get enough of it. Now, I do invite you to, as an NFL fan, to maybe share this episode and maybe some of those links about the upcoming episodes of your friends, because they may be interested in watching Australian football as well. It would be a great help to get those episodes out in front of people. And, Aussie Rules football is a great game, and I think that you would absolutely love it if you gave it a chance. Now, I also invite you to subscribe to my podcast over on your favorite podcast platform, and you can certainly check out some of the previous episodes where I talk about my love of the game, how I fell in love with it, and I talk to some huge names in the game, former players, club presidents, fans who are just absolutely passionate about it, both in the United States and in Australia. So this is not an exclusive Australia thing here. This is me trying to help grow this game here in the United States. So I invite you to check those out. You can also find everything related to my show over at my website, ayankonthefooty.com. Now, before I wrap up this episode, usually at the beginning of each episode, I give a shout out to a local footy club. And it helps me learn the geography of the local game. And I wanted to give out a shout out to the Tracy Village Razorbacks of the Northern Territories Football League. But more specifically, I wanted to give a get well shout out to a young man by the name of Anthony, who suffered a very serious arm fracture in his under-12s matchup yesterday with the Razorbacks. Anthony, we're hoping that you are on the mend as quickly as possible and that you are able to get back out there and play the game that you love. It looked like you were an absolute trooper when you were dealing with this, and I wish you all the best. And again, I hope you're able to get back out there as soon as you're able to do so. So, folks, I usually close out each episode telling you to look out for one another, to check up on your friends, tell them you love them, make sure they're okay. And as always, may your dribble kick never hit the post. I will catch you later.